Hello, I'm so glad to have you with me today. Um, and uh, Kelvin, can you tell a little bit about yourself and who are you and what is your mission in the world?
Okay, well, first of all, thank you so much, Heidi, for having me on. I sincerely am happy to be here, and thank you for everyone that's watching or listening. We hope to really provide you lots of value today, so stay tuned, and yeah, we'll kind of get started. So, how would I describe myself? That's always a very good question. I feel that I'm constantly evolving, like many other people are evolving as well. But generally speaking, I am a prophet, and generally speaking, I would say I'm a spiritual teacher. I'm an author. I'm a spiritual crusader, as I like to say
Yeah,
a lot of times. Entrepreneur. I'm a husband. I'm a father, and all around just really cool guy.
that's amazing. And I'm really curious about that you are saying that you are a spiritual uh, curious.
Crusader.
Yes, it's a hard word. So, well, can you tell me a little bit about that? Because that is amazing for me.
Well, you know that it's crusading is a very interesting word, and I chose that specifically because when you think about the word crusade, you are thinking, or crusader, you're thinking of someone that's championing a cause, that is really rallying behind or advocating a specific mission. So everything I do is in the range and realm of spirituality. So I see the world through spiritual eyes, through a spiritual filter. And part of my mission is to help other people see that there's a underlying force behind everything that we see in the natural, everything we experience in our personal environment. And you know, many people call it different things. I call it God. Some people call it universe. Some people call it, I often call it spirit as well. Some people just call it the unknown. And so I say that I'm helping people to, as a crusader, I'm helping people to realize that there is more underneath this life than what we know. And I believe that God is the unifying force. Some people call it the energy that connects all of us. And I have found that when I help people in my crusading, so to speak, to really understand that there's more than what we see, it helps bring a level of clarity and really meaning for a lot of the things we experience in life. It doesn't just seem like we're going through life and things are bad and things are horrible, or we live and then we die. And I think it provides a level of hope with people knowing that there's more than we actually see. And so, yeah, spiritual crusader. That's how that looks.
Oh, that is amazing. And I'm so glad that you also see the word that it's not like it's so much more, and that we have a God and the universe that is supporting us. And it is amazing when you are seeing the world like that, because you see that you are not alone, and that you can pray and you can say that I need some help, and then the help will survive. It will come to you. But can you tell me a little bit about have you always been spiritual, or is it like you have a transformational story?
You know, that's a great question. I get this. That's often something that comes up. I will say I have always been spiritual.
Yeah.
Honestly, I believe that we're all spiritual. I think that we all don't tap into that. I believe that many of us are remembering the true spiritual essence that we are. But I will say I've always been spiritually minded. Now, I used to be a lot more religious minded. And that was really where a lot of my story begins, where my first memories of spirituality really were when I was 8 years old. And I've always been in the church. I was born and raised and grew up in a Christian environment. My mother was more on the Baptist Christian side of things. My grandmother was more on the Pentecostal holiness Christian side of things. But and the community I lived in Virginia was all Christian. And so I grew up with that very structured religious mindset. which is great. I firmly believe that we have what we need at specific times. So for that particular season, it was excellent. And then through the course of life and through the course of just experiences, I really have evolved beyond those things that I grew up with. And that's not to say I have gotten over those Christian values. I just say that I have added some other elements to really infuse my spiritual journey. So now, and really how that happened was I was in Tennessee at the time. I moved to South Carolina. And in the process of that time, I had a transition that really allowed me to, see things in a different perspective. I found myself having to start over, as it were, in so many different levels. The world was kind of crumbling. My religious world was crumbling. And so I made two decisions, one of which was, if I'm going to start over, or since I get to start over, I'm going to be super authentic to me and my path, what I feel that is. And then I'm going to try my best to not hurt people the way I feel that I had really been hurt going through what I went through. And so through that experience, I started studying more. I opened my horizons up. So where I grew up Christian, and mostly we studied the scriptures, the Bible, then I started studying other things like Jewish traditions, the Kabbalah, Gnostic realms. I went into more Eastern traditions as well, Hinduism, Buddhism, et cetera, et cetera. And then the rest has just been a constant evolution of really seeing all paths, religiously and spiritually, as a way of deepening this personal and human experience. So I have found that I tend to have a fusion of spirituality at this point. And one path works in a very specific area. And then I found that a different level of spirituality works with different areas. So it's interesting, to say the least.
Oh, that's amazing. Can you tell me more about what is spirituality for you? What is the word? What is...
That's a great question. I tend to keep things as simple as possible. I generally say that spirituality is the meaning behind the material, meaning that everything that we see and experience. I have my hands here. I have a ring here. Behind me, there's a couch. And I find that there's meaning in everything, or we can really project or imprint meaning on everything. So, for instance, I have a couch behind me that I'm seeing right now. I think everyone else can see it too if you're watching the video. On one end, materially speaking, that's a couch. But the meaning behind it, or what the couch represents, is a place of rest. It's a place of communion. It's a place of connection. When I do counseling or coaching, and maybe I have a couple that's sitting on the couch, it's a place to hash out problems, to work through things. It's a safe space. It's neutral. And so on the, let's say the physical or the surface level, it's just a couch. And quite honestly, it could be any other couch. It could be red, blue, green, purple, or black for that matter. But the meaning that I give to it, I view that as the spiritual essence of the couch. And I view all things through that. So I found that it really helps to provide a deeper understanding as we go through life, which is why I love terms. And some people say, like, I use God a lot or spirit a lot. Some people say universe or energy. I like the term God because it feels like God is personal. It feels like God is a name. And so in that regard, which is different from saying the universe. So sometimes I will use the universe depending on what I'm saying. So if I say, I believe that all things are working for me and the universe is bringing all things to my life. Well, what I mean by that is that, blessings can come from anywhere. So universe seems very fitting to say that. If I feel like, I feel like God is with me, then God becomes a person, not just this weird abstract energy or things that's out there. It feels like I know God in that regard. And so it's an interesting dynamic to be in. So when I say spirituality, I'm always looking at it. What is the meaning behind what we see and also what we go through? People go through hard times in life. Many people are struggling. Well, we all go through, the good times, and we go through the other version. of that. And I have found that especially in the rough times of life, it helps to pull out some meaning in a very tragic situation. That way you don't get stuck in the challenges. So I say a lot of times that I specialize in helping people in the transition because it can be, oftentimes I found that's where we get stuck. So having that spiritual essence that allows us to transcend the trauma, it's a magical experience. It really is.
Yeah. For me, a spirituality is to see with the heart, and always see with the heart, because it's much bigger than you, and that we are connected with everybody. Is when you speak from the heart, then you connect with the heart, and that is the universe for me, because
Yeah, and I like that, and that's perfect. Even how you said that to you, that's how you view God, the universe, the spirit. And spirit is very that heart-driven endeavor.
Yeah.
I tend to say that I view a lot of things through spirit, which is like the essence of it. Like, what is the true, the meaning behind it? And I would say it's all of that.
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's all of it, and then it's none of it.
Yeah.
at the same time. But I found that, like what you said, when it works for you, I'd say keep working it. So that's great.
You have been written 2 books, I think. You have been
4. Well,
4.
Actually,
Okay, 4. But you have been written a book. Your latest book was about. It was 150 days of peace. Can you tell a little bit about your book?
Yes, absolutely. I have 4 at the time of this. I have, well, I guess I really have 5 books out right now. It's really interesting. I feel like myself and my team we're just pushing out books faster than I can eat breakfast. It's interesting. Yeah. But I have 4 that I have written personally, and then I have 1 that I was a part of, and it's a co-authored book. So, and that's really interesting place. But my first book was a parenting book. My second book was 150 Days of Peace, and then my third book. Oh, what was my third book? A relationship book.
Okay.
A relationship, having very connected and conscious relationships, and then my 4th book was again on peace, but really one of the foundational building blocks of having a peaceful life. So, and I'm in the process of writing 2 more books right now, but I'm hoping will be out the end of the year. So it's kind of book season for me. But 150 Days of Peace, actually, it's so interesting how that book came about, because that book started really as a video series. I was on Facebook, which, so many people are these days, and my team actually persuaded me to start doing videos every day and just put them out there, a little small. We took quotes from, some famous people, some not so well known. And I read the quote, and then I really talked about the quote, and then, from a spiritual perspective. And it turned out I ended up doing that for 150 days. Originally, it was going to be a whole year, but it turned out to be 150 days. And they were meant to be little motivational moments. I mean, not very long, 30 seconds to a minute, just encouraging people about their day. And then honestly, once we finished and some time went on, we resurfaced back on the videos, and we said, wow, these would be really good to kind of break down, transcribe a little bit, add some more to it, and make it a little, actually it turned out to be a pretty substantive book. And then, we turned it into a book, and really more a devotional. So using those quotes, and, we made it more of a journal devotional side of things that people can use throughout their day to help create a different pattern. So I use a lot of sociology and psychology when I'm teaching, not just spirituality. So those people that follow me know that I do a lot of blending and comparative spirituality as it speaks. But a lot of times in behavior management or being a change agent, most people will say, well, it takes 30 days to build a new habit. Actually, there's no statistics or hard research that actually shows that. And it ranges from person to person. It can take anywhere from really 30 days, really to up to over 100 days to start a new habit. And I won't go into all the details of where that 30 days came from. It actually came from a book, more specifically. But the actual research shows that it takes about 66 days, I believe it is, to break a new habit, to start a new one more consistently. So we kind of went with that framework. And so it kind of just happened, honestly. And so it's a way of helping people to build a different dynamic with their life to live more peacefully. So yeah, that's 150 days of peace. It's an interesting journey.
Can you tell me a little bit about what would you say that is the best thing that you do when you think about your practice, spiritual practice? Do you have some tools that you use for the viewers to do so they can be more in contact with themselves and to find out what to do in life?
You know, that's an interesting question, only because I have found that in my practice, everything is super unique and super custom. So for instance, I will typically always start from a physical perspective. Where are you in life? Where are you going? What do you want to do? And go from there. Now, sometimes what happens, because I am more, like I say, I'm a prophet by nature. And for those people that don't understand what that is, honestly, most people have heard these terminologies. Some people will say prophet, psychic, intuitive, clairvoyant, things like that. It's generally all in the same realm. And so I will say that I'm a prophet, meaning that Spirit, God, speaks to me and through me. And then I'm also, I'm working with people, I'm able to see all the things that they may not be saying on the surface, but I can see like the underlying root of it. So oftentimes what happens is when those things present itself and reveal itself, then I design the course according to the consciousness that gets revealed. So it becomes very, very fluid in that regard. But as far as some techniques go, oh, wow, let me figure out a specific technique. It's always so interesting how that goes. Well, I will say one of the things that I have found works really well is honestly rest. Sometimes what happens is in our journey of life, we're so hung up on finding an answer that sometimes I'll tell people to just stop believing, stop searching altogether. And sometimes it seems a little counterproductive to say that. Is it a technique? You know, in a sense, yes, it is a technique. And then also it's very simple and profound at the same time. So a lot of times what happens with people, we get in this rhythm of expectation. We get in this rhythm of trying to force things to happen. And in turn, what happens is if we're frustrated, if we're upset, the momentum we're building up is really one of frustration. We're also, when you're frustrated, what happens is you're also not seeking an answer and you're not open for the opportunity to find an answer. So really what happens is you start building the momentum of disbelief. And so what I would tell people oftentimes is that the quickest way to speed up is to slow down.
Yes.
And so this is more of the meaning behind the mystery. When people say the most godly thing sometimes is just to rest, there is something to be said about that, because what happens is the brain biochemically actually learns to reset itself. And oftentimes when you just stop, the brain will allow itself to find a different avenue to get what you want. And so I have found that oftentimes that is the best thing to do. And even from a spiritual or God-focused perspective, I will say this often, that we have our personal initiatives and goals that we want in life. I also believe that the universe or God or spirit gives us assignments. And I believe those are things that people say it's like coincidence, or I didn't plan to go to the grocery store. I didn't plan to go this route home, but I ended up doing it. And then these things happen. We didn't choose that, but I believe that was kind of the universe orchestrating things for us. So a lot of times I would say in that space of resting, you can allow the universe to do its work versus sometimes working against the universe. So yeah, I would say I use rest quite a bit. One of the other tools I use quite a lot is journaling, with my clients, especially some of my students. I have students that I train in more of a school and academy format in specific spiritual principles. And I have them journaling as a way of really pulling out information that they may not have known. So one of the techniques I use a lot of time is called, in psychology, it's called the observer effect. So part of the observer effect is really saying, if you were, or the general principle is, people perform better when people are being watched. It's an interesting dynamic, and this is the backstory behind when people say, sing as, someone was watching you and things like that. But honestly, people do perform better when they feel that someone is judging them. It's an interesting dynamic. People perform better at work when their boss is sitting next to them. People behave a little bit more with their kids in the grocery store because there's more eyes on them. So I will use that to my advantage, really, a lot of times with my clients. So I'll say, listen, I want you to be the observer for your own life. And how do we do that is I want you to actually start journaling and write down what you did as you were doing it. And then I want you to look at your story, or that story, almost as if it's separate from you. How would you feel about this person that you just wrote down in your journal? How would you feel about that person today? Would you have given them any different advice? And then from there, I found that it gives a lot of, it provides a different clarity to people that they may not have had otherwise. It's a little form of self-therapy as well, because I have found that oftentimes people can give other people really good advice, but don't follow their own advice. So I use journaling as a way of saying, hey, this is a way for you can give your own self some good advice and do it in a very healthy manner. So that's two. You asked for one, but there's two.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I wanted to say about the science and everything. It was like when I saw that we were in the same book, the Bigger, Better business book.
Yes, that's why we were.
Yeah, and it was like, wow, I have to contact you, and I know now, because we are thinking so much alike, and that for me also it is so important. I always say to my clients as well that you have to rest, you have to ground yourself, because I'm a healer, and it's like everybody that's comes are so stressed. They are so stressed out and burned out, and so they are thinking about, I have to do something with my life. And I say to them, first, relax, take care of yourself, do something good for yourself, and then you can start listening to your heart, because it's like, yes, listening to your heart and find out what you can do for you now, what is for you. And that's so important. And it has, if you have one sentence you want to say to the viewers now in the end of this conversation, what would you say?
I would just tell everyone that, you're not in trouble, you're in transition. And that is, I probably use that phrase a lot because I found that in my line of work, and I'm sure that you see this as well. You mentioned that you're a healer, and that oftentimes people get stuck in their, in a specific space. And I'm assuming that a lot of your healing work, you're helping people to kind of see things in a different perspective. You're helping them to regain and restore parts of them that were damaged. And so with me, I tend to look at a lot of life very much like that people perceive situations that they're going through as if they're in trouble or that they're in trauma. And I just like to remind everyone that's listening or watching this that, listen, you're not in trouble. You're just in transition. You're going from one place to another, one place of healing to another, one expanded level of thinking to another. And in that middle space, oftentimes that's where we have the discomfort. And oftentimes, just remember, this too shall pass. It's all a part of the circle of life. And that the better you get at handling the transitions, the better you can really celebrate the triumph. So again, you're not in trouble, you're just in transition.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for taking this time to talk to me and this interview. And you are amazing. And I really, really am looking forward to keep in touch with you, and I hope you'll be in this program another day as well. So thank you so much.
Thank you so much, and I appreciate so very much that you had me on here. I trust that the listeners, the viewers got something out of it. We'd love to know, so be sure to touch base with Heidi and myself, and let us know what you got from it. We always enjoy the feedback, and thank you so much for having me, and I wish you all the continued success in everything that you're doing. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much.
And thank you, and the same to you. And if you have your web address to where they can take contact with you, if they want to buy your book, and so can you tell that at the last, and then give me the details later.
Yes, absolutely. So everyone can reach me at calvinwitcher.com. And that's CalvinWitcher. Or I guess the easy thing is you can go to calvin.tv. So that's a lot easier.
Oh,
yeah, CalVin.tv. And you'll find all the information you need about books, programs, schooling, and just basic contact information. So absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And everybody have a great day, evening, wherever you are in the world. So from my heart to your heart, have a beautiful day. Bye.
Bye-bye.